The Bad Batch tricks you at first. You think it's going to be a show about elite clone troopers running missions and blasting droids while cracking one-liners. And yeah, that's part of it. But then Omega shows up, and suddenly the whole series shifts. She's not just a kid tagging along, she's the piece that makes everything click. Without her, the Batch are just soldiers on borrowed time. With her, they're a family fighting for something bigger than themselves. And that's what makes it so fascinating. Because while Hunter is stressing out like a single dad with too many bills, Wrecker is playing the goofy uncle, and Tech is basically the guy who explains Wikipedia out loud. Omega is the one who grounds them. She's the conscience of the squad, constantly pulling them back from becoming just another group of mercenaries. And you can see it in every choice they make. Rescue missions they wouldn't have taken, people they wouldn't have helped, risks they wouldn't have survived without her. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. Omega was never just there to make the clones look softer. She's tied directly into the larger Star Wars story. The Kaminoans protected her, the Empire wanted her, and Palpatine's entire obsession with cloning practically screams her name. She isn't filler, she's foreshadowing. And it's wild how many people missed that when they were busy complaining that she was too much like Ahsoka or Ezra. And come on, how can you not root for her? She stands up to bounty hunters, like Cad Bane, without blinking. She sneaks her way out of prisons, and she's the one reminding her brothers that survival isn't enough if you lose who you are in the process. Omega has more guts than half the Jedi Council, and she's not even a teenager yet. That's hilarious, but it's also kind of sad, because it shows just how broken the galaxy is when the youngest person in the room has the clearest vision. What's even better is how she forces the audience to care. Every time Omega is in danger, the stakes feel higher than any blaster fight or starship chase. Because it's not just about whether the Batch wins, it's about whether this kid who represents hope, innocence, and the future makes it out alive. That emotional weight transforms the Bad Batch from just another action series into something that actually matters. In this video, we're going to dig into why the Bad Batch was never really about Clone Force 99, how Omega became the heart of the story, and why her importance stretches far beyond just being the team's little sister. From her ties to the Empire's cloning projects, to the way she redefines what family means for the clones, Omega is more than a character, she's the key to the entire narrative. And by the end, you'll see why she's not just important, she's essential. When you first sit down to watch The Bad Batch, it looks like it's going to be another clone-centric story. You've got Hunter, Wrecker, Tech, Crosshair, and Echo, all unique in their abilities, navigating life after Order 66. On the surface, it feels like a natural continuation of the Clone Wars, focusing on the aftermath through the eyes of soldiers trying to survive. But then Omega shows up, and everything changes. Omega isn't just another clone. She's different from the very beginning, not altered for combat, not programmed for obedience, but instead carrying this natural curiosity and emotional depth that sets her apart. And right away, you start asking questions. Why was she created? Why does she matter so much to the Kaminoans? And how is it that this child ends up becoming the anchor for an entire squad of enhanced soldiers? The intrigue deepens when you realize she isn't simply tagging along, she's influencing the choices the squad makes. In episode after episode, it's Omega who challenges them to think beyond missions and money. Whether it's standing up for a displaced family, or refusing to leave innocence behind, her presence forces the Batch to expand their definition of survival. And that's when you realize, maybe this story isn't about them at all. Even her connection to the Kaminoans raises fascinating questions. She's tied to Nala Se, she's connected to the Empire's growing interest in cloning, and she's a thread that runs directly into Palpatine's long-term plans. That makes her more than just the heart of the show, makes her the link to the future of the entire saga. Suddenly, the Bad Batch isn't just a war story, it's a piece of the larger Star Wars puzzle. The curiosity surrounding Omega is what hooks you, because from her first moment on screen, you know there's more to her than meets the eye. She's not just along for the ride, she's the reason the ride exists in the first place. The frustrating part is how many people wrote Omega off when the show started. The instant she appeared, you had fans complaining that she was just another kid's sidekick, a tag-along character designed to soften the edges of the gritty clone squad. And sure, she's a child, but reducing her to that completely misses the point of the story. Beneath all the adventure, there's a sorrow to Omega's story that hits harder the more you think about it. She's a child growing up in a galaxy that sees her as a resource, not a person. To the Kaminoans, she's an experiment. To the Empire, she's leverage. To bounty hunters, she's a payday. For much of her life, she isn't treated as Omega, the individual, but as Omega, the asset. Her bond with the Batch is heartwarming, but even that comes with pain. Because while she finally finds family in them, she also has to face the reality that this family is constantly under threat. Missions go wrong, enemies chase them, and she lives every day with the fear of losing the only people who truly care for her. That's a heavy burden for someone so young. We also see her forced to grow up far too quickly. Instead of a normal childhood, Omega spends her days on the run, learning how to fight, strategize, and survive. She witnesses betrayals, deaths, and the collapse of everything she thought was safe. That loss of innocence is heartbreaking, and it mirrors the tragedy of the clones themselves, who never got to choose their fates. One of the most sorrowful elements is how she embodies the clones' struggle for identity. Just like them, she was created for a purpose she never asked for, and yet she fights to define herself outside of that. Her journey is theirs in miniature, and the pain she carries reflects the pain of every soldier who realizes they were built for someone else's war. The sorrow of Omega's story is that even though she represents hope, she also represents loss. Every step forward reminds you of everything that's been taken from her, and that duality makes her story both beautiful and devastating. For all the pain in her story, Omega also inspires awe because of how strong and capable she becomes. Time and again, she proves herself as more than just the batch's little sister. She becomes their equal, their conscience, and sometimes even their leader. Watching her grow is one of the most awe-inspiring parts of the series. Look at how quickly she learns. By Season 2, Omega isn't just tagging along, she's flying ships, hitting marks with a bow, and holding her own in dangerous missions. When the squad underestimates her, she shows them up with quiet competence. There's awe in the way she absorbs everything, becoming the bridge between the innocence of childhood and the harsh reality of war. Omega is the embodiment of hope in the Bad Batch. She's the reason the clones fight, the reason they keep moving, and the reminder that they're not just mercenaries or relics of a forgotten war. With her, they find purpose. Without her, they'd be lost. Her optimism never fades, even in the darkest moments. She believes in her brothers when they doubt themselves. She believes in strangers when others would walk away, and she believes they're still good in a galaxy overrun with tyranny. That kind of hope is infectious, and it transforms the Batch into something greater than survivors. They become protectors. Omega also represents the future. The clones know their time is limited, that their bodies and their purpose won't last forever, but Omega gives them a legacy. Through her, their values, their love, and their sacrifices will continue beyond them. She's not just their sister, she's their future. Even against the backdrop of the Empire's rise, Omega is a reminder that not everything is lost. She shows that even in a world of manufactured soldiers and oppressive regimes, individuality and compassion can survive. Her very existence is hope, proof that the galaxy can still produce something pure in the middle of chaos. That's why Omega's story matters so much. Because no matter how dark the Bad Batch gets, she's always the light pulling them forward, refusing to let them give up. In the end, the Bad Batch was never just about Clone Force 99. It was always about Omega and what she represents. She's the emotional center, the moral compass, and the symbol of what the clones were fighting to preserve. Her presence gives their story meaning, and without her, their journey would feel empty. The tragedy is that her importance is tied to so much pain. She's hunted by the Empire, exploited by the Kaminoans, and forced to grow up faster than any child should. She carries the weight of being more than herself, and that burden is both her curse and her destiny. Yet the resolution is that through Omega, the clones finally find peace, even if only in fleeting moments. They may never win the war, they may never change the galaxy, but by protecting her, they've done something greater. They've preserved the idea of family in a galaxy that tried to erase it. Omega's story is both deeply personal and galactically significant. She isn't just a character in the Bad Batches, the glue that ties the clones' legacy to the future of Star Wars. From Palpatine's obsession with cloning to the quiet bond of brothers, everything connects back to her. That's why the Bad Batch was always about Omega, because in the end, she's not just the future of the clones, she's the heart of the story itself. The one thing that gives it all meaning. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.